Welcome back to the Optical Gallery. My name's Nick, and before we get into part 2 of Theo Eyewear, what's the big deal? I want to recap on what we looked at in part 1. We learned about the story of how they were founded, we learned about the family that owns the brand, and we also looked at some of their internal designers and the influences behind some of their frames. If you haven't watched part 1, I urge you to recap. I've left a link up here. But whilst I have your attention, I want to remind you, Theo Eyewear is coming to London, the Optical Gallery, 17th of May. It's the perfect opportunity to see the entire collection of Theo in all its colourways, something that, as opticians, we cannot stock the complete collection. It's huge. You will also get to meet some of the people that work behind the brand that might be able to explain the story a little bit more than me. And it's a great and fun day when Theo comes to town. So without further ado, let's get into part 2.
You're now tuned in to the Optical Gallery.
So you've met the internal designers, but it doesn't stop there. Theo uses external influences to design some of their frames. So let's take a look at the external designers. Introducing James Van Bossel, who is actually a furniture designer, but he still designs frames for Theo. He was the person that did the whole James collection, an absolute classic in Theo. Another collection he does is the Outlines collection, which is one of my absolute favourite collections when selling Theo Eyewear. They're just so wearable. I absolutely love how the frame overlaps the other frame. It might look really leery, especially with the fluorescent colour, but what this frame actually does is open up the face. I'll just put it on for you. As you can see, the frame does not take over my face. You can see my face behind the frame. You just have this pop of colour. And you can always tell when James has designed a frame for Theo, because you'll see a hole at the left ear tip, which represents the earring that James wears. The next external designer is Nathalie Crasset, and she comes from an industrial design background. I am actually wearing one of her frames here. This is part of her Encore et Encore collection, and she probably designs the most bold and chunkiest frames in Theo Eyewear. And I tend to gravitate on my personal collection towards her designs because I like the bold, boxy shapes, but she's also done frames such as Dialogues, which are really, really quirky. And last but not least, you have Tim van Steenbergen, who was actually the very first collaborative external designer Theo worked with. And he's worked on collections such as Composite and Pop Art. As you can see, it's this collaborative spirit that keeps Theo at the forefront of innovation. They're not afraid to go outside of the box and explore new boundaries. So the big question, are Theo frames worth the investment? Well, they range between £350 to £600, depending on the collection and the material that you're choosing. And I think to answer that question of if they're worth the investment comes down to two things: the craftsmanship and how they make you feel when you're wearing them. So let me go into the craftsmanship. Theo frames are designed in Belgium, but they're actually made in France. It's a mountainous region called the Jura, which sits on the border of Switzerland and France. And the Jura is very rich in history of eyewear manufacturing. I have been lucky enough to visit the Theo factory in the Jura. Now, credit to Theo, because they have actually now bought their own factory. They've joined up with JFRA and John Dahlia to keep this heritage of eyewear manufacturing in the Jura. As many of you know, lots of eyewear now is outsourced to places like China and Italy to be mass produced. So Theo have taken it on board to keep the rich heritage of craftsmanship in the Jura. On my visit to the Jura, it was incredible to see the whole process of design to actual manufacturing, and my favourite part of the whole process is the coloration. Theo is all about exploring colour, and to colour a pair of Theo frames is a meticulous process. They actually spray this frame, which is part of their characters collection, which, may I add, if you're new to Theo, this collection is very easy to get into if everything else is a little bit daring. But they will spray this into this nice green colour, and then they spray the fluorescent green on top, and then by hand someone removes the fluorescent green over the top to reveal the green underneath. It's an incredible process which demonstrates how much care and attention that Theo put into actually colouring and manufacturing their eyewear. The second point of how they make you feel, again, comes from a personal story. There was a time in my career where I didn't know I wanted to be in optics still, and I went travelling, and on my travels I visited the little opticians in Venice. It's what I do as an optician, is I go and visit lots of different opticians in different countries to see what's going on. But when I walked into this optician's, I saw a whole rack of Theo frames, and they just excited me. It was full of colour, full of character and humour, which is what I feel Theo put into their eyewear. Right there and then, I managed to choose my first pair of Theo frames. Now, admittedly, when I come back to the UK, I was a bit cautious of wearing them because they were completely different. When you see people in the street, they're just wearing black, tortoiseshell, conventional shapes. And then there was me walking around in my fluorescent big glasses. But I slowly overcame that fear of what people thought of me wearing my glasses. Because when you're wearing your glasses, you forget you got them on. It was when people started to approach me and start conversations all about my glasses. I never knew glasses could have that effect until I started wearing Theo frames. Since then, I wear them with pride, and I'll be the only person in a room wearing my glasses. And that makes me happy because it gives out such a positive energy to make people attracted to come and talk to you. So to answer the question, are Theo frames worth the investment? I can only speak from my personal experience, and 100% they've been worth every penny I spent on my Theo frames because I absolutely adore wearing them. But the next question is, are Theo frames the right frames for you? Well, I think firstly, let's take a look at some people that are wearing them. Director Spike Lee, he loves to make a statement with his eyewear, and it's a part of his personal brand, just as much as Prue Leaf from the Great British Bake Off. She has tons and tons of glasses, Theo being one of the most eye-catching pieces that she wears. You have other people like Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He makes a statement with his glasses. It's a part of his brand when you watch him on YouTube. And finally, who could forget Sir Elton John? Everyone knows him through his glasses. And yes, he wears Theo as well. So judging on those people, who is Theo Frames for? Someone that is creative, someone that loves to make a statement, someone that wants to be individual, and someone that just loves wearing glasses. So if Theo Eyewear sounds like the perfect frames for you, get in touch. I'd love to show you the entire collection. In fact, May the 17th this year, we are hosting in our Twickenham gallery the London Theo Eyewear exhibition. Theo Eyewear take over our entire gallery with the entire collection of Theo frames in all their colorways. It's the perfect time to acquaint yourself with these frames. So before I go, I want to leave you with a simple slogan that Theo used that summarizes their whole philosophy. Theo loves you. If you've enjoyed this video and found it useful, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll be back soon with another one. Thanks for watching.